While spending time online, I see many saints who, in my opinion, are wasting a lot of time corresponding with unbelievers.
You know, I have no idea why this guy is standing in front of a completely unused green screen, but I think we can make that work. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here, and we're having a bit of a chat with Preachin' Sean, who I've addressed before, but this time he seems just a wee smidge nuttier. Have a look.
I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt that they are intelligent, honest, reasonable, and capable of understanding things. While this is a nice way to view people, it is not scriptural.
So, let me see if I got this right. You're saying that the Bible does not expect people to be intelligent, reasonable, honest, or capable of understanding things? So the Bible is basically saying we're all idiots. Can you give me a compelling reason to try to read a book that right away tells me I'm too stupid to understand it? And even if I do understand it, I'm apparently not going to examine the contents in a reasonable or honest way. So basically what I'm hearing is, if you don't agree that the Bible is true, you're just an unreasonable, dishonest idiot. Right away, the Bible is stacking the deck, begging the question, setting the terms so that if anyone happens to examine its contents and find that they don't hold up under critical scrutiny, well, that's their fault and not the book. So I ask again, can you give me a compelling reason to read a book that right off the bat says it's not going to play fair with the other kids?
Scripture says many things about unbelievers, and here are 5 of them. Number 1, they perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason God shall send them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie.
Whoa, let me get this straight. So this allegedly all-loving God has a few people who just aren't convinced. And let's face it, it's awfully difficult to be convinced when you're only allowed to have faith instead of being given some facts to examine. So he sends them a powerful psychic delusion to make matters worse, to make it more difficult for them to believe. Isn't that, counterproductive? Why not give them mental illusions that are convincing instead? I mean, doesn't this all-loving God want people to be saved and go to heaven instead of be damned and go to hell? So why does he need unquestioning belief so badly? It's long been a contention of mine that if these gods happen to exist, which I don't think they do, they feed off of faith, that it's what sustains them, keeps them alive, because they're not nearly as immortal as they claim. I mean, think about it. Why stay hidden all the time? Why give us no evidence of their existence? Why not show up and demand our loyalty instead of our gullibility? Why? Because they need faith. That's the only explanation, besides that they don't exist in the first place.
Here people refused the truth and became delusional. So those who reject the gospel are delusional. This means they will not agree with rational arguments.
The Bible is the truth because we say so, and if you don't agree with us, you're delusional and can never be rational. Talk about begging the question.
Number 2. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel.
Bazubba what? I can only assume this is a can't see the forest for the trees kind of thing.
Number 3. This people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I should heal them. Just like the previous example, Jesus identified people who were hard-hearted, hard of hearing, and willfully blind.
So basically there's no way the Bible could ever be fallible. Jesus' claims can never be falsified, and if you don't agree, you're just being stubborn and blind. Incidentally, have you ever noticed just how much this can be turned around on theists? After all, if we present to you some evidence that evolution happened, or Noah's flood didn't, or the age of the earth, and you don't agree with us, what does that make you? The big difference, of course, being that we can present to you some empirical evidence that you can check for yourself, whereas all you've got is a bunch of Bible fanboys who think this is just the best book ever. You know what your position sounds like? Look at this! I've got Star Wars, and it's the best movie I've ever seen! and the force is real. If you don't believe me that the force is real, you're just irrational and stubborn and hard-hearted. If that sounded ridiculous when applied to something that isn't the Bible, try to imagine how what you're saying sounds to other people.
Number 4. The fool has said in his heart, "There is no God."
Well, fortunately, most of us do that with our minds. And do you want to know the easiest way to get me to change my mind? Swap faith for facts. I mean, let's face it, if this deity of yours ever actually just showed up, some part of me is probably going to go, gee, there might be a God after all. You think? I mean, really, who is more foolish? The person who believes on faith without any evidence, or the person who waits for or actively seeks out verification? Which one's more foolish? Truly. I mean, I have to ask you, how many aspects of your life besides religion do you apply this belief without evidence stuff to? Any? And if the answer is no, then why is religion this big ol' exception?
Here, those who think there is no God are called fools. Fool here specifically means one who lacks common sense.
It's common sense to think that something exists only on the say-so of a book and its fans? How is that common sense? Quick, nobody give this guy access to credit cards and infomercials, or used car salesmen. Trust me.
Number 5. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God delivered them to a depraved mind, so that they might do what ought not to be done.
Translation: you don't believe in me? Okay, then I'm going to make it so you never can, and you'll die and go to hell for all eternity, because I made you not believe in me. Oh, but I love you.
These people have a depraved mind. While this is not about their reasoning faculties, it reveals how such people desire to do evil.
Desire to do evil? So not believing in a God means that we automatically want to go out raiding villages, looting and pillaging.
Looting and pillaging, eh?
Yes.
What about the raping?
Well, obviously that. Anyone who doesn't believe in God is going to do that, right? Just because we don't believe in your God, it does not mean that we want to go around doing quite horrible things to each other. Or, indulging in certain pleasures that for some reason your God is a total prude about, but which hurt nobody. The truth is that we do have a code of conduct. We do have morality. It's just based on not wanting to be hurt. Not wanting others to hurt us means we have to not hurt them, otherwise no one will follow it. But we don't want to get hurt. So we do follow it, and we punish those who don't. And you know what's great about this morality? No God required. So if you're going to say that we don't follow God because we have a desire to do evil, that sounds like you're trying to convince yourself that we're horrible people for not believing in your God, rather than anything that bears resemblance to reality.
So the prior 5 characteristics are applicable to unbelievers, but all 5 are not applicable to all unbelievers. For example, take the Apostle Paul before his conversion on the road to Damascus.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. According to you, an unbeliever who eventually converted is one of the reasonable ones. Do you have any contemporary examples of someone who is reasonable but never converted? Does that exist in your world? Is that even a possibility?
Paul said the following thing about himself.
Oh, I totally figured out what this guy reminds me of. Do you remember Chumbawamba? Seriously, I'm just saying. Look.
Who was before a blasphemer and a persecutor and injurious, but I obtained mercy because I did it ignorantly in unbelief.
Now wait a minute. You previously said that if you don't believe, then God will send you a delusion to make sure that you never believe, and that not believing means we all want to do evil. But here you've got this St. Wilbur guy who apparently went around doing horrible, horrible shit, but because he did it when he didn't believe, he's now forgiven. Now, okay, to be fair, clearly Count Zippy here had to convert eventually, but that would mean he had to do it against this you'll never believe delusion that apparently God sends out. Do you really not see this massive contradiction here? Truly?
Here Paul says he was unbelief due to his ignorance. I'm not going to go into it, but if you read about Paul in the book of Acts, it was obvious that he had not heard the gospel, but as he had said, persecuted people ignorantly.
Oh, I see. So if you've never even heard of the possibility of the Christian God, but you go around committing atrocities, that's fine. You were just ignorant. On the other hand, if you're otherwise a perfectly nice person, but you've heard of the gospel and just didn't buy it, to hell with you. Sounds reasonable enough. Where do I sign up?
If they reject the reality of the Creator or the gospel, is there any reason to talk with them? Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. This is what I look like when I'm flattered that you're willing to talk to my lowly dumb butt.
A person who rejects the Creator should be answered to show that what they are believing is foolishness. But realize that the answers we give are not going to get them to acknowledge the Creator or believe the gospel. Rather, it shows that we have logical reasons for believing what Yahweh has revealed.
Logical reasons? I have never heard a logical reason for believing something for which there is no evidence. It's always scare tactics or playing on people's other emotions. Hello, Pascal's wager. The truth is that you can logically prove the existence of anything, provided you never have to show any tangible evidence of its existence. Please enlighten me as to why giving that kind of evidence is such anathema to your God. Could it possibly be because none exists, and never did? And never will, because it never can? But hey, I'm just a fool, right? You don't have anything to prove to me. It's all on me to believe you. On faith.
It can be hard to remember, but when dealing with unreasonable people, we are only to answer their objections or questions. Trying to use reason with a person who rejects the truth is a waste of time.
But we only have your say-so that it's the truth. That's why we have questions. That's why we have objections. That's why we reject it out of hand, because you haven't shown us why it's true. You can call it the truth if you like, but I'm not going to accept that it is until you start doing a damn good job of proving it. Evidence or GTFO?
What if you deal with a person who claims to have been a believer but is currently an unbeliever? Again, make sure they understand the gospel, and if you are convinced that they were trusting in the right thing, they may just be in a state of rebellion.
Or, after some critical scrutiny, they may have decided, gee, this is a steaming load of hogwash. But no, it has to be rebellion. It can't be that God isn't real. They know God is real in their hearts. They just reject Him. Right?
These people should be reasoned with, as the Holy Spirit resides in them, but they still may choose to ignore the Spirit's leading.
Yep, nailed it. He didn't use those exact words, but can you tell I've heard all this shit before?
Remember, without asking people about their beliefs and past, we cannot properly make a judgment on their ability to understand spiritual things.
But see, there's a huge difference in being able to understand spiritual things and deciding that they're true. If, in your world, understanding spiritual things means accepting them as true sight unseen, well, you're darn right, I don't have that ability.
Even after sharing the gospel with those who reject it, we may feel helpless.
Yeah, well, being forced to face a few inconvenient facts can do that to you.
One verse I will close with tells us how to conduct ourselves with those who reject the Creator's existence. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you yourself also be like him.
Translation: no, don't listen to them. There's a chance they might be right and make sense. No! But apparently we're the ones who can't be reasoned with. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think.